That is insane. Now, this video is all about dope tech that is displays. And so this one, by definition, may be pushing that limit just a little bit because it's a volumetric display, aka a hologram. The idea is that it's creating the effect of a hologram, which is this cool object displayed in 3D space that people can gather around and view it almost at 360 degrees. And the way that it's creating this effect is actually kind of insane. So you can see here, it's actually two displays back to back and rotating around this center axis here. And you can actually see individual pixels because it's not that super high resolution of a screen, but that's gonna make a lot more sense in a second. So like you've probably seen one of those spinning fan displays before. If you spin that one line of pixels around really, really fast, you can make a circle. And so if you pulse those LEDs so that they're in the exact same position each time they light up, you get a floating dot in space, like a pixel. So when you stack a bunch of these lines, that's when you start to add this z-axis of depth. But that's also when it gets incredibly complicated. This thing spins at 900 RPM, which is about 15 times every second. And as it spins that fast, you can see when it lights these things up, instead of just one dot or one line at a time, which would look like a floating slice, now it has to take 3D objects and display all of the slices next to each other with perfect timing, so that as the panels spin around, it creates the illusion of 3D objects with actual volume sort of hovering still in space. And this is an incredibly complex feat of a ton of processing because since a full rotation is divided into 480 unique slices, that means just to do 30 FPS video, you have to update these displays 7,200 times per second. 7,200 hertz refresh rate on these displays just to show this object at 30 frames per second. That is insane. And that's also why it's not the highest resolution display in the world, because there's already a ton of compute going on just to make this possible. Also, fun fact, there's even a little bit more processing headroom necessary for error correction, because these motors don't necessarily spin at exactly 900 RPM, and so it has to make sure these things all line up perfectly. But when they do, well, you're gonna have to take my word for it because it's incredibly hard to capture, but it does look great. It looks so cool in person. Obviously the display is partially covered up here by a glass dome, partially for safety, but also partially to keep the display spinning with less air resistance inside. So there's a lot going on here. But yeah, there's specialized software to show these images and 3D objects made specifically to be shown on volumetric displays. And I just haven't seen anything else that looks quite like it. It is one of the most interesting pieces of tech that's ever come through the studio. Definitely dope tech.